All right, let's talk about university paychecks. We're going to dive in and figure out who really earns the most money on campus. And you might be surprised by the answer.
So, just for a second, when you picture the highest paid person at a big university, who do you see? You know? Is it that person up on stage at graduation, the one signing all the official documents? Maybe some famous professor with a Nobel Prize?
Yeah, I bet for most of us the president or a big shot professor comes to mind, right? Well, today we're going to put that idea to the test. Let's just follow the money and see where it actually leads us. Okay, so before we get into the actual dollars and cents, we kind of need to get the lay of the land. Let's take a quick look at who's in charge. You know, the typical power structure at a university.
This probably looks pretty familiar to you. You've got the president or chancellor right at the top. Think of them as the CEO of the university. Then you've got the provost who's in charge of all the academic stuff. And then a whole bunch of VPs and deans handling things like money, getting students in the door, the whole shebang. It's really just a classic corporate ladder, but for a university.
All right, so now we know who the key players are. Let's see what they're actually getting paid. Time to look at the numbers for these traditional leadership jobs.
So, when you look at the global averages, one role just jumps right off the page. The university president's salary is way higher than the provost, the deans, or anyone else on this list. No question about it, in the world of academic administration, the president is king of the hill.
And there it is, the top of that administrative food chain, about $450,000 on average globally. Now, in the US, that number can be a lot higher for sure. But for now, let's just use this $450K as our baseline, okay? So remember that number.
Okay, but this is where things get really interesting. We've figured out who's at the top of the academic ladder. But what if that's not the only ladder on campus? What if there's another one, a much, much taller one?
All right, get ready for this, because it's a bit of a shocker. The people who really make the most money on campus, well, it's a completely different story.
Let's just start right here. $9 million. That's the salary for Lane Kiffin, head football coach at Ole Miss. And look, that's not just a little bit more than that president's salary we talked about. We're talking 20 times more. It's not even close.
And believe it or not, it just keeps going up. Over at USC, the head football coach, Lincoln Riley, is making over $11.5 million. That gap is just becoming a canyon.
And here it is, the top of the mountain. For 2025, the highest paid university employee we found is Kirby Smart, the head football coach at the University of Georgia. His pay? A mind-blowing $13.2 million.
So you're probably noticing a pattern here, right? Look at the job titles. Coach, coach, coach. The entire top 10 list, every single one, is a college football coach in the U.S. This isn't just a fluke, folks. This is the system.
So the obvious question is why? I mean, how is there such a massive, monumental pay gap between the people in charge of the actual education and the person in charge of the football team?
Wow, okay. This chart right here really tells the whole story, doesn't it? When you put them side by side like this, the pay for the academic leaders, it's just dwarfed. I mean, it's not even in the same sport, let alone the same league as a top football coach's salary.
And really, the answer comes down to this. They're basically two completely different businesses running on the same campus. The university president, their job is all about the academic mission. You know, the school's reputation, research grants, getting big donations. But a top football coach, they're basically the CEO of a huge entertainment company. Their job is to bring in millions and millions of dollars right now through ticket sales, merch, and especially those gigantic TV deals.
So what does this all tell us? I mean, what do these numbers really say about the priorities of a modern university, especially in the US?
Well, the source material boils it down to something pretty simple. The coaches get paid these insane amounts because the programs they run generate enormous amounts of revenue. Plain and simple. Their paycheck is a direct reflection of the money they bring in. And that really leaves us with one big question to chew on, doesn't it? In a lot of states, the highest paid public employee isn't the governor, it's a university football coach. What does that say about where we are today at this intersection of education, big-time entertainment, and massive business? Definitely something to think about.